The Kaduna State Executive Council, Permanent Secretaries, Clerk of the House, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I would also like to recognize my partner, Her Excellency the Deputy Governor, and by the grace of God, the incoming Governor of Kaduna State, Senator Budgetary, who is also here with me. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, let me begin by expressing my profound gratitude to the honorable members of the Kaduna House of Assembly for the opportunity to address you today. I recall vividly the warmth of the reception when I first entered this chamber as governor on 10th of June 2015, less than 2 weeks after we took office. During that first visit, I was able to update this House on the preliminary findings from the briefings we began receiving from ministries, departments, and agencies in our first week in office. I concluded my update by requesting a constructive partnership between the three arms of the Kaduna State government in the important task of improving the well-being of our people and delivering progressive outcomes for them. Mr. Speaker, right honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to say that the Kaduna State House of Assembly has been a positive partner in the last 7 years. There may have been a few storms and stresses along the way, but the honorable members of this House have been supportive of our efforts to reform governance and build the foundations for a new era of progress and development in Kaduna State. We have signed many executive bills over the last 7 years, and this House has commendably discharged its duty of enacting vital legislation. I wish to register my personal gratitude and that of the government and people of Kaduna State for the 140 laws so far enacted by this House in the last 7 years, which I think is a national record. I stand before this House today for the final time as Governor with immense gratitude to Almighty Allah for the work He has enabled us to do, working together to uplift Kaduna State. We have since May 2015 erected the platform for Kaduna State to take off. Rooted firmly in new laws and a robust approach to governance, our reform efforts have been about putting people first. That is, by prioritizing the delivery of public goods that build human capacity, that improve public well-being, and that promote equality of opportunity for all the residents of our dear state. In 2015, Mr. Speaker, sir, we committed ourselves to develop human capital by investing in education, healthcare, and social welfare. Institute a good governance system that is founded on a competent and responsive public service. Foster security. Maintain, rebuild, and expand infrastructure, including water supply, electricity, and road networks. To accelerate economic growth that will create jobs and more jobs. Promote agriculture and food security, and reform land administration as a basis for wealth creation and capital formation, while preserving and enhancing environmental management. We have been successful in accomplishing much of our governance agenda. Our governance attainments were achieved amidst considerable hurdles and challenges. Fiscal challenges threatened our ambitions, but we tapped into other funding sources to enable us to implement some of our projects. Security challenges and the consequences of a pandemic and 2 national recessions have also proven to be severe limiters. But we have persevered in doing the work needed to make the future of Kaduna State more glorious than its past. This government has worked to make healthcare more accessible. Each of our 255 wards now has a staffed and equipped primary health care center. We have installed solar power in some of them, enabling those ones to offer 24-hour services. All our primary health centers are run by the same primary health care board which this Honorable House established by law to help standardize the level of care that residents can expect. We have upgraded secondary health facilities and rural hospitals and staff there. We made the necessary investment to secure accreditations for Barodico Teaching Hospital as a teaching hospital and for the clinical program of the Kaduna State University. This enabled CASU to begin graduating medical doctors rather than having to send medical students to Uganda, which the former government was doing for clinical training. These improvements in healthcare have helped to make pregnancy less hazardous for mothers and children alike. We are reducing maternal and infant mortality and enabling more women to give birth with trained personnel in attendance. Immunization coverage has been expanded to protect more children against vaccine-preventable diseases. We have supported the Kaduna Health Supplies Management Agency, another agency that this House established by law to provide our health facilities with the required medicines and other consumables. Hard-to-reach areas are already being served through delivery by drone, courtesy of our partnership with Zipline of the USA. The contributory health insurance scheme we introduced in 2018 is helping enrollees to access health care without incurring out-of-pocket expenses. Mr. Speaker, right honorable members, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to inform you that Kaduna State is poised for recognition as a center for specialist medical services, particularly cancer treatment. We have signed an agreement with an international fund to manage the 300-bed specialist hospital, which is nearly completion. We have the funding of Islamic Development Bank for a nuclear medicine center there, in addition to another cancer center being established by the Barodico Teaching Hospital by the National Sovereign Investment Authority. No doubt, this will help reduce medical tourism to India, Egypt, and other countries. By the grace of God, Mr. Speaker, sir, before the end of next year, Kaduna State will be the center of the treatment of cancer in the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. This government has undertaken similar efforts to expand access to education. We introduced free basic education for the first 12 years. We introduced free education for the first 12 years of schooling, from primary 1 to the completion of SS3. We launched a program to renovate schools, provide furniture and sanitation, increase the number of classrooms, and build new schools where necessary. We have not reached all the 4,256 public primary schools in the state, but we have mitigated the worst instances, like in Regasa, where in one primary school, over 20,000 pupils were being taught in tents. We are consistently trying to improve teacher quality and training standards in our public schools to ensure that pupils graduating from our schools have the skills and knowledge to enable them successfully climb the ladder of opportunity and social mobility. Mr. Speaker, sir, this focus on human capital development explains why education and health have consistently had the highest allocations in all the budget estimates when presented to this Honorable House. We have accompanied this with social welfare initiatives like Kaduna State Women Empowerment Fund, CASWEP, the Kaduna State Startup Entrepreneurship Development Fund, CADSTEP, the school feeding program, and collaboration with the federal government through the Social Investment Office on various social support programs. Kaduna State has so far enrolled into the State Social Register almost 3 million poor and vulnerable persons from 778,662 households in all the 23 local governments of the state. Our program to register the residents of the state has so far enrolled 5.3 million persons and linked them to NIN. This is slightly more than half of the estimated population of the state, but it is one of the highest rates of identity registration in the country. Mr. Speaker, right honorable members, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are especially delighted that our investment drive has been successful in bringing new businesses to the state. Private investors have poured billions of dollars into our state in businesses like hatchery and feed mill, livestock ranching and dairy, iron and steel, tomato processing, fertilizer blending, pharmaceuticals, automobile assembly, ICT, housing schemes, shopping malls and markets. These are all new investments that did not exist during the 16 years of rule by that other party. These businesses are creating direct and indirect jobs and bringing new skills to the state. As you are aware, the African Development Bank has selected Kaduna State as one of the 8 states in which a special agro-industrial processing zone will be built and run. This will help to further leverage on our endowments in agriculture in developing our state. This investment drive has been accompanied by a massive investment in infrastructure to improve the well-being of residents and encourage economic competitiveness. The Urban Renewal Program, which we launched in 2019, is an unprecedented investment in infrastructure upgrade and expansion in our 3 major cities, Kaduna, Kafanchan, and Zaria. Many of the urban renewal projects have been completed and commissioned for everyone to see. Several other projects await completion, and we seek the cooperation of this House to enable the completion of as many of them as we can. Of course, government is a continuous process, and the work of urban renewal is only just starting. With the support of this House, we have enacted laws to create metropolitan authorities to manage each of these 3 major cities as organic entities, maintain the municipal infrastructure, and build more as required. The Urban Renewal Program extends the investment in rural trunk and feeder Zaria Water Project. We have signed an MOU with the federal government for the Greater Kaduna Water Supply Project. This entails the federal government building the ETC dam, while Kaduna State government will build the water treatment plant by the next administration. The shortage of water in Kaduna metropolis will be a thing of the past. We hope to complete an 84 megawatt thermal power plant before we leave office next year. The 2 gas turbines required for the project are being shipped from the United Arab Emirates as we speak. Kaduna State is also part of the project to build 100 megawatts of solar power in each of the 19 northern states and the FCT. One of our earliest decisions was to establish the Kaduna Geographic Information Service (KAGIS) to manage land administration in the state. KAGIS has digitized the land registry and enabled residents to get valid land titles through systematic property registration and the recertification program. The work done by KAGIS has enabled me to sign over 50,000 certificates of occupancy since 2016. This is an unprecedented record not only in the state but in the country as a whole. We have done all this in an environment that has compelled us to spend more money on security than a subnational would under normal circumstances. It is our earnest hope that ongoing military operations will be sustained to enable our people live in peace, farm in peace, do their business in peace, worship in peace, and relax in peace. As a progressive government, we have promoted women and young people into positions of responsibility. Today, Mr. Speaker, with your support, our Kaduna State Executive Council has more female commissioners than men. This is historical and has never been achieved anywhere in Nigeria. We have enacted laws for child welfare and protection, initiated public service reforms, paid 14 billion naira of arrears of gratuity and death benefits inherited from that other party, and tried to run a decent contributory pension scheme. We are the first government to pay the new national minimum wage, following which we also raised to 30,000 the minimum monthly pension for retirees on the all-defined benefit system. Our government has structured the mortgage and foreclosure system for the state. We are implementing an unprecedented transfer of wealth to traders at the Sheikh Abubakar Group market and many markets across the state, where we insist that traders should own their shops rather than rent them from middlemen. Our government, across the state, we are building new markets, a total of 23 new markets in all, and empowering traders with single-digit interest mortgages to be able to pay for them comfortably. Mr. Speaker, right honorable members, a review of budget performance since our first full budget in 2016 indicates that the 2021 budget, that's last year's budget, performance was 97%. This is the highest ever in the history of the state, and indeed the highest ever in the history of Nigeria. In fact, our second-term budget performance has never been less than 73%, recorded in 2020, largely because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Budget performance was 92% in 2019, dipped to 73% in 2020 due to COVID-19, before recovering to 97% in 2021. I will now, Mr. Speaker, go into the draft budget of 2023, which we call the budget of continuous growth and development. Mr. Speaker, sir, right honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, uncertainties persist in the global economy. Promising signs of sustained recovery from COVID-19 have been replaced by fears of inflation and recession in the major economies. This economic climate may affect demand for Nigeria's main export petroleum, with consequences for the exchange rate, prices, and general economic performance. The proposed 2023 budget estimates assume that crude oil pricing will stabilize around $70 a barrel, and that the official exchange rate will be around 435 naira 57 kobo to the dollar. Considering these economic parameters, the draft 2023 estimates are based on the following considerations. Number one, making provisions for funding of ongoing vital infrastructure projects. Number two, maintaining the minimum budgeting baseline of 60% for capital expenditure and 40% for recurrent expenditure. And number three, education and healthcare holding a minimum of 26% and 15% of the total proposed budget respectively. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, as we present for your consideration our eighth and final draft budget, it is with a consciousness that this government will continue to discharge its responsibility to the people of this state as vigorously in these final months as we did at inception. The revenue and expenditure estimates that we present today for your consideration conforms to the governor's agenda we've expounded since 2015. The draft 2023 budget prioritizes education and health of our people. It maintains the capacity of the government to fund significant infrastructure and to improve citizens' well-being and retain economic competitiveness. The proposed 370.33 billion naira 2023 draft budget is a 21.82% increase over the 22% revised appropriation of 303.99 billion. The sum of 242 billion is proposed as capital expenditure and 127 billion as recurrent expenditure in the 2023 estimates. The capital to recurrent ratio of 65.5% to 34.5% reflects our consistent commitment to investment over consumption. The 2023 estimates maintain our focus on human capital development. Our proposal allocates 45.34% of the budget to education and health alone. The allocations of 29% to the education sector and 16.05 to health leaves no one in doubt about our abiding commitment to human capital development. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, permit me to present a detailed summary of the recurrent and capital allocations and to outline the proposed allocation to each sector. The summary of the 2023 to 2025 draft revenue and expenditure estimates are therefore as follows. Recurrent revenue projection for 2023. We hope to start with an opening balance of 35.097 billion. Internally generated revenue this year we project will be about 93.2 billion. Statutory allocation from Federation account, 59 billion. So, Mr. Speaker, for the first time in the history of the state, we are projecting that our internally generated revenue will more than exceed PAC allocation from the federal government. Others are like exchange gains, excess bank charges, equalization funds, and ecological funds. We expect about 3.4 billion. We hope to receive about 1 billion from COVID-19 interventions. Recurrent estimates. Personnel cost is estimated at 48.564 billion. Overhead cost estimated at 79.14 billion. Total recurrent expenditure 127.7 billion. Net recurrent revenue 65.035 billion. And we transfer this to capital. Less recurrent. So we are transferring 65.035 billion to capital. We have also some capital funds. The opening balance for capital will be about 7.5 billion. The recurrent budget surplus transfer is 65.035 billion. Value added tax, we estimate to be about 30 billion this year. Internal grants, 52.63 billion. External loans, 61.62 billion. External grants, 20.999 billion. And the sale of government assets, we estimate will raise about 4 billion naira. The total capital budget, if you add all this up, therefore comes to 242 billion, 622 million, 658,791 naira 65 kobo. We'll now break down the capital expenditure estimate by sector. Under the economic sector, we have allocated a total of 56 billion 733 million 789,850, with 750.4 million to agriculture, 1.33 billion to business innovation and technology, 7.389 billion to housing and urban development, and 47.262 billion to public works and infrastructure. In the social sector, we have budgeted 131 billion 953 million 5,430 kobo, broken down as follows. Education takes the lion's share of 79 billion 559 million 428,751 naira. Health 44 billion 109 million 545,330 naira. While social development takes 8 billion 284 million 31,348 naira. Total for the social sector is 131 billion 953 million 5,430 naira. For the regional development sector, we are proposing 19 billion 344 million 175 naira 792 175,792 naira, broken down as follows. Zaria Metropolitan Authority is allocated 5 billion 977 million. Kaduna Capital Territory Authority 8 billion 813 million. Kafanchan Municipal Authority 4,553,000,000. Total 19,344,175,792 naira. Under General Administration, Mr. Speaker, we have 24.476 billion for the executive, 6.488 billion for governance. Law and Justice gets 1.065 billion, while the Honorable Legislature gets 2.561 billion. Total for the subsector, 34,591,687,718 naira. Mr. Speaker, sir, right honorable members, adding up all these subsectors gives us the total capital budget of 217,212,999.45. The 2023 budget estimate makes provisions for continued pro-poor interventions in nutrition, healthcare, skills acquisition, and empowerment fund for women, youth, and vulnerable groups. Along with provisions for the social investment program, these pro-poor interventions alone are costed at over 11.3 billion, representing about 3% of the proposed budget size. Mr. Speaker, we shall shortly be forwarding the finance bill for 2023 to reflect proposed amendments to the tax code. The finance bill is a flexible mechanism to enable annual adjustments for raising revenues that will be required to implement the budget. This enactment does not require a complete reenactment of the tax code, but just amendments to certain parts of it. This final budget concludes 8 years of determined effort to make lives better by putting people first. We've implemented empowerment policies, respecting our people enough to free them from dependence on those who insert themselves between the treasury and the people. We have diligently sought to promote equal opportunity, improve human capital development, build infrastructure, attract new businesses, support existing ones, and run a system that promotes the ease of doing business. We have reformed government while celebrating what was good in the past, honoring people, and completing inherited projects. We have done our best amidst the continuum that disciplined governance should be. Mr. Speaker, right honorable members, our governance journey since 2015 has had smooth phases as well as rough junctions. We have been sustained in sadness and joy by faith and our commitment to our sacred oath to do our best for the people of Kaduna State. We are proud of our record of governance. We have charted a new path forward. We will be leaving it to our successors to further extend, build on, and expand our efforts to deliver progressive outcomes for our people. The roadmap is clear, anchored on the State Development Plan and a relentless focus on robust policies and capacity to implement through an efficient and effective public service. Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted to inform you that we shall be proceeding from here to commission the OCP fertilizer blending plant after this budget presentation. This will improve fertilizer availability for our farmers, help us exit the inefficient fertilizer subsidy regime in 2016. Mr. Speaker would recall that in 2016, we delivered fertilizer to our farmers at 4,000 naira per bag without any subsidy through collaboration with OCP of Morocco and Flour Mills of Nigeria. We will go back to that arrangement now that the presidential initiative has led to very place the budget for you and the Honorable House.